He may have worn a fancy suit and flaunted a luxurious lifestyle. He may have acted like he was a proud girl dad. But make no mistake, you are looking at a cold-blooded monster. This is a case that has left many of us who followed it from the very beginning with chills and so many questions. How could a father take the life of his young child after what seemed to be a wonderful dad and daughter vacation? The trial of Luciano Fertolan just came to a stunning conclusion, and I will show you the disturbing notes that he left behind that gives us insight into the why a man with such a dark and twisted mind would take the life of his 9-year-old girl.
He wore the mask of a successful entrepreneur, a man who...
Here's a picture of Luciano Fertolan and his 9-year-old daughter, Molina. They lived in Montreal, and in July of last year, the two of them were on a dad and daughter adventure across the border into New York. They went through Connecticut. They spent 10 days seeing the sights on the East Coast and going to places like New York City. Fertolan was a small business owner in Canada. He tried to run a coffee company, and when you look online, he's a guy who loved luxury. He drove Ferraris. He traveled the world. But he also, at least publicly, made it seem like he loved his daughter. His biography online for his company said that Molina, his daughter, was the light of his life. He said she was the inspiration for everything. Now, I'll be honest, I don't want to show you too many nice pictures of Luciano, too many nice pictures of he and his daughter together, because the real image of who this man is and what you should think of when you see him and hear him is this: handcuffed, being taken into court, where he was accused of killing his
basked in the
daughter.
glow of luxury cars and designer suits, a girl dad who curated a social media feed so saccharine with love for his 9-year-old daughter, Molina, that it could make you believe in fairy tales. But beneath that meticulously crafted facade of affluence and affection lurked a monster so cold, so calculating, and so consumed by a petty vendetta that he weaponized a 10-day father-daughter vacation as the cover story for an unspeakable act of evil. Because the story of Luciano Fertolan is not just a murder case. It is a masterclass in the deceptive nature of curated personas and the terrifying depths of a narcissist's rage, a case that began with...
I remember when this story first broke. I was looking at my phone. I was in my kitchen. It was a Saturday. And the story was that an Amber Alert had gone out in upstate New York for a 9-year-old girl who was kidnapped. Or at least that was the story, that she was kidnapped from her car. That's how all of this started, really as a parent's worst nightmare. A father who called 911 claiming that his daughter was yanked from their vehicle when they were pulled over on the side of the road as they were making their way back home after an East Coast vacation. But then we learned, and honestly pretty quickly, that the nightmare in this story was actually that parent who called for help. Here's
the panic of an Amber Alert on a Saturday night in upstate New York when Fertolan, a small business owner from Montreal, stood on the shoulder of I-87 near Lake George and...
Want to lay out all the layers to how this twisted story began. So we need to go back to July 2025, specifically Saturday the 19th. It was around 10 o'clock at night when Luciano calls 911 from the side of a highway near Lake George in New York.
Warren County 911 received a call from a man reporting his 9-year-old daughter missing with a possible abduction in the area of exit 22 of I-87 Northway in Lake George.
That's New York State Police holding a news conference. They sprinted to the area where Fertolan was claiming that his daughter was yanked from their car on the side of the road. A vehicle pulls up, pulls her out, and then speeds off into the darkness. He claimed that he had pulled over to the side of the road because he needed to get out to go to the bathroom. The two of them were on their way back to the Canadian border, and Luciano was going to drop Molina off at her mom's house in Montreal. Police, they put out an Amber Alert in hopes they would find the girl and this mysterious vehicle that Luciano said took her.
Told 911 dispatchers a harrowing tale of how his daughter was violently yanked from their car by a mysterious assailant when he pulled over to use the bathroom. A claim so brazen and so audacious that it initially launched a frantic, multi-agency search for a phantom kidnapper, only for that frantic search to curdle into a grim recovery mission the very next day when forest rangers found little Molina's body, not snatched by a stranger, but deliberately
took her. The next day, this search came to a terrible end.
A search detail comprised of officers from multiple agencies conducted an organized search in the town of Ticonderoga, New York. In an area Mr. Fertolan was suspected of having visited. During that search detail, at approximately 10:50, members of the New York State Police Forest Rangers located Molina deceased in the shallow portion of a pond.
The story that Luciano told was a bold-faced lie. Police say they investigated it. They looked for this mysterious vehicle that he talked about, but they determined that his entire story about what happened was made up, and worse, he was the one who